So, what is machine learning? Well, let's for a moment first think about what is learning. As always, when I don't know, I go to Wikipedia, a wonderful source and a wonderful answer to all my questions. Wikipedia says learning is acquiring new or modifying existing knowledge, behaviors, skills, values, or preferences, and may involve synthesizing different types of information. The ability to learn is possessed by humans and animals. Nice. I wonder what does that probably think about it. So, what is machine learning? According to Arthur Samuel 1959 definition, machine learning field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being clearly programmed. Not this. Program versus learn. What does it mean to learn for machines? Here's a definition from Tom Mitchell, 1998. Tom Mitchell is the founder and first chair of possibly the only machine learning department in the world, at least in the US, I believe. That is in Carnegie Mellon. Tom Mitchell says, well-posed learning problem. A computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some task T and some performance measure P. If its performance on T as measured by P improves with experience E. Good. Does this correspond to what our current algorithms do? Does this correspond to what we're doing with online processing and learning from YouTube video and recommender systems and everything? We'll find out this semester. So, machine learning is a data science discipline. In a sense, it's a synthetic discipline. It lives on the intersection of statistics, computer science, and optimization theory. Arguably, just those three because there are way too many others. Let's look at others. So, machine learning combines discrete mathematics, linear algebra, statistics, calculus, and optimization theory. At least. Machine learning draws from artificial intelligence, Bayesian methods, computational complexity, optimization theory, information theory, philosophy, and psychology and neurobiology. So, all of the above, after melded together, after fused and forged, will get machine learning. So, some of the people say that machine learning is just applied statistics. Well, it's similar to saying that computer science is just applied mathematics or mathematics in programming. The difference from statistics is that in statistics, statisticians are more interested in the models. First define a model, then estimate the parameters, and then study the parameters and separately, because the model is built in a way that is itself meaningful. It's like a physical law or physical model, a simplified version of what's happening in the world. That's statistics. In machine learning, all of the knowledge that humans accumulated in statistics still applies and is very useful, but the goals are different. In machine learning, the main focus is not on the model, but on the ability to go from data to predictions, to figure out how to behave just from the raw data. And driven by this goal, in machine learning, we study, like we don't focus on the models so much, but more on their performance. And that performance, because machine learning is part of computer science, includes computational complexity, includes ability to work on limited resources, ability to handle large data sets with large clusters, large computational resources, but nevertheless, and ability to get from the data to a program, essentially, to learn a program that will execute in the wild. So what are the tasks that machine learning faces, or what are the learning tasks that machine learning deals with? One is classification. That is given a bucket of entities, take them out and put oranges on the right and apples on the left. Decide which one is an orange, which one is an apple. Regression. Regression is more about predicting continuous quantities. It's, say, look at a picture and estimate an age, estimate the person's age who is on the picture. How old are they? That would be a regression problem. If you do the same about the weight, that is even better regression problem, because the weight is truly continuous. Well, we measure the age in years. We usually don't estimate the age in seconds to match what regression problem deals with. Another problem or another learning task is ranking. Ranking is by observing people's preferences. Can an algorithm figure out which movies they will like more and which less, and sort them by the ones that they will likely enjoy? Another ranking problem is our web search. When you type your query in the search form, which results to show first, which results to show next. This is also a ranking problem. Clustering. Clustering is a problem of finding structure in the data without any supervised signal, without the teacher telling us anything, or maybe with some supervised signal, but then for a different data set. Another problem is dimensionality reduction. Imagine I collect genetic information about every person in this class, or every person at Georgia State University, 50,000 students, plus professors and plus staff and everyone. How do I look at the data and the relationships between the people in this data set, who is near each other, who is further? So dimensionality reduction reduces the noise or variability, or reduces the redundant or say non-informative variability, and projects, in a sense, sometimes non-linearly, the data to a lower dimensional space where it's easier to analyze, or if that space is two-dimensional or three-dimensional, to even look at, will touch the methods. Another one is manifold learning. This is helpful to one of the examples or one of the applications, compression. Manifold learning would be for data that lives on some multidimensional manifold instead of occupying the space, multidimensional space, uniformly. And yet another one learning task is causal learning. So Causal learning is about figuring out the relationships from observational data. So if we are observing data from the world, can we figure out what causes what? If we measure from sensors some process, some phenomena in the world, can we run an algorithm and establish relationships? For example, we measure two quantities, temperature and height, temperature and height, say, just these two. Can we establish, or maybe we could do temperature and pressure, and can we establish the dependence between those two, or actually causal link? Does pressure cause height, or does height cause pressure, or changes in pressure? Right? So this is causal learning, and that could be useful, again, starting with our philosophical task. If we send a robot to a new planet, the robot is expensive. If something breaks, it's even more expensive because we'll lose the robot. It's unlikely we can send a repair crew. So doing experiments and moving around, randomly studying the surroundings, is expensive. So it's better for the robot to first sit still, save energy and hardware, and just observe, collect the information from surroundings, and establish first rough model of what's going on around and which experiments, where to go at least, and what to collect to do first, but from the observation. Causal learning helps do that. So what are the learning scenarios that those learning tasks exist in? Here are a few. One is supervised learning. What is supervised learning? It's when there is a teacher, and the teacher shows an example and gives an explanation, usually a label. For example, here's an animal. This animal is a cat. Here's another animal. This animal is a dog. So that's a teacher with supervised signal. This is supervised learning settings. So semi-supervised learning is that when there are lots of observations, and only for some the teacher gives the signal. For example, there are lots of books online or lots of comments online. Let's take the comments example, comments in the movie database, and only for some of them we know if it's a positive comment or a negative. The other comments we have to figure out from the context, from the wording of this of those documents. This is semi-supervised learning. Active learning is a setting in which we can request or decide which experiment to perform, what to measure. So we collected some data, which is usually expensive, learned something, and then we can, from what we learned or from the kind of mistakes we make on the data that we have, we can figure out what we don't know. And then instead of collecting any kinds of data, we should collect only the data that will improve our performance on what we're doing wrong right now. Then we improve a little and figure out new weaknesses. Maybe we will reduce the space of weaknesses. Maybe we will discover new weaknesses always and keep exploring and collecting the data. Another one is online learning. That is when information is just streaming at you, and you should learn as you go, or the algorithm should learn as the data comes through. modifying the behavior online. Usually, and right now, the most successful algorithms that we're dealing with are offline, say deep learning. Collect a lot of data, train your model, scratch the data, freeze the model weights, apply the model. Even if you put it into online settings, the model doesn't learn anymore. It just does inference, makes a prediction on every new sample that is coming at it. If you need to improve it, you just retrain. But online learning strives for algorithms that learn as they go. Anytime new information comes in, the algorithms should improve. Another one is fully unsupervised learning, is when there is no teacher signal at all, just the data. Clustering is one example of unsupervised learning. But like in general, humans, when we grow from babies as kids, largely our learning process is unsupervised, and by just observing a lot of data, which is tricky, and manipulating it, which is not considered unsupervised, we learn a lot about the world with very sparse supervised signal from the teacher, parents, or surroundings, where some kind of a label is given to this and that. A currently popular and very interesting subfield of unsupervised learning is self-supervised learning. It's like self-play. Why it is becoming popular or became popular, there is a reason for that. The field recently has perfected supervised learning algorithms, backpropagation that we will talk about, and gradient descent. They're so effective that if we could use them, that was the original thinking, if we could use them for unsupervised learning, when we have the data but we don't have any label necessarily, then we could extract lots of knowledge about the world structure without having any particular task. For example, in natural language processing, if we can make the model predict the next world, if we can make the model predict the next word, we have abundance of labels, even though we didn't involve any human into labeling or any teacher. So when we convert an unsupervised learning problem into supervised, that's called self-supervised learning, and that is not there. So another settings or learning scenario is reinforcement learning, is when the model has to decide on a sequence of actions while it's going through the environment or through the world with its states, and the learning signal comes sparsely in the forms of rewards, and sometimes the rewards are negative, which is sort of a punishment. So this is what machine learning is.